Welcome to the Star Life TV channel. In this video, I will talk about the symbolism and strange moments in the assassination attempt on the former US president. On July 13, 2024, the life of the former US president and now Republican candidate in the upcoming elections, Donald Trump, was in danger. During his speech in Pennsylvania as part of the election campaign, several claps were suddenly heard, after which the politician hid behind the podium, clutching his ear. It later became known that Trump became the victim of a killer hiding on the roof and miraculously survived. It would seem that there is nothing surprising in the fact that the former American president has a lot of ill wishers, one of whom tried to do away with him. In fact, the symbolism and strange circumstances that accompanied the incident suggest that everything happened for a reason. On November 5, 2024, the next presidential elections in America are to be held. The main candidates for this post are the current US President Joe Biden and his predecessor Donald Trump. Now each of them is actively conducting election campaigns, trying to win the trust of voters. The assassination attempt on Trump occurred at one of such events. The former American president gathered about 50,000 people in the city of Butler, Pennsylvania, for a campaign rally. A few minutes after the start of his speech, shots were heard. The bullet passed millimeters from Trump's head, piercing the upper part of his right ear. The politician hid behind the podium, after which U.S. Secret Service agents rushed to him and covered him with their bodies. After this, the presidential candidate was taken away from the rally in a tight ring of agents. As he left, he raised his hand with a clenched fist, which caused the crowd to cheer. The symbolism of the incident begins with its date and time. The attack occurred on July 13, which is one of the system codes and a favorite number of the Illuminati. The time of the incident, 1811 Eastern Time, conceals the disaster code 911. In addition, exactly 6 minutes passed from the start of Trump's speech to the first claps. The main point that raises questions is the fact that the assassination attempt was possible in principle. It is obvious that events of this scale are held in compliance with the highest possible security measures. Here, for some reason, no one noticed a man with a rifle on the roof of a nearby building and did not eliminate him. Official sources explain this by the fact that the shooter was outside the so-called security zone. Usually, the site where the election rally is held is fenced off along the perimeter, and all participants go through a metal detector. Armed guards search bags and even wallets of those gathered. Many rally participants are being inspected manually. In addition, all buildings in the line of sight must be inspected. The fact that the sniper was only 100 meters from the site of Trump's speech may indicate that he was allowed to do so. One of the witnesses to the incident, interviewed by the BBC, said that he saw a man with a firearm and unsuccessfully tried to warn the police and the Secret Service.
We're like, hey man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling.
The strangest circumstance of the assassination attempt on Trump is the shooter's miss. Obviously, if someone really needed to eliminate an objectionable person of such a level, he would have done it without mistakes. In this case, the sniper did not miss, but, on the contrary, shot with maximum accuracy. The work was done with precision and did not cause significant harm to the politician. It is quite possible that there was no shot at all, because the former US president would hardly want to risk his life. Hiding behind the podium, he could have stained his face with paint or scratched his ear. In this context, the plot of Agatha Christie's novel, A Murder is Announced, comes to mind. In it, a woman who eventually turned out to be a criminal was initially listed as a victim. During the attack, a bullet grazed her earlobe, but, as it turned out later, She did it herself to divert suspicion from herself. Another symbolic work that the incident with Donald Trump evokes associations with is Stephen King's novel, The Dead Zone. In it, the main character, who can see the future, tried to eliminate a US presidential candidate because he saw that if he won, he would unleash a nuclear war and threaten the existence of all mankind. The book's events also unfolded during a meeting between the candidate and his voters, and the shooter also missed and was killed himself. A reference to Stephen King's book can be quite significant and symbolic. Now many perceive Trump as a politician who is capable of ending the conflict in Ukraine and bringing long-awaited peace to mankind. But given that absolutely nothing depends on the personality of a particular president, and all key events are planned by shadow puppeteers, the expectations placed on Trump may be wrong. The identity of the shooter deserves special attention. He turned out to be a 20-year-old guy, Thomas Matthew Crooks. The first thing that catches your eye is his last name, which sounds similar to the word crocus, which in turn refers to the events of March 2024. It indicates a connection between the two incidents and the emphasis on the ears. Trump's bullet pierced the upper part of his right ear, and one of the attackers in Crocus had his right ear cut off shortly after his arrest. All this leads to the idea that both events were part of a global plan. According to official data, the shooter acted alone. Since he was immediately eliminated, no one will ever know the names of the true customers. Another oddity of the situation with the former US president can be called his reaction to what happened. Just a few seconds after the shots rang out, Trump pushed aside the ring of security and raised his hand, folded into a fist, which, by the way, was absolutely clean. The politician did not know for sure whether the shooter was alone, and therefore such behavior on his part can be called very reckless. All this suggests that Donald was completely confident in his safety, which means that the incident was planned in advance. The reaction of Trump's supporters behind him can also be called strange. None of them panicked, tried to run away, or fell to the floor at the sound of claps. People behaved as if everything was fine and they were not in any danger. Perhaps the most interesting fact related to the assassination attempt on the former US president is that many famous people predicted a similar outcome long before the incident. In particular, journalist Tucker Carlson said in May of this year that Trump would win the election, but only if he managed to survive. Since there are still several months left before the US elections, it is quite possible that Trump will indeed be eliminated by that time. As for the goals pursued by the organizers of the assassination, there may be several. This event may provoke mass unrest in America and even a large-scale civil war. In addition, in this way, people's interest in the upcoming elections is heated up and the significance of this event increases. Attention is distracted from more important things happening in the world right now. In general, what happened to Trump during the election rally is very reminiscent of a well-staged performance. This is evidenced by the carefully selected system codes and strange moments accompanying the attack. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel.